All right, happy Monday. I was a little late on the draw, but that's okay. A little late on the draw. Happy Monday. Happy Monday right after Super Bowl Sunday. Happy Monday on the week of Valentines. Happy Monday. And the first full week of Black History Month. There's a lot to celebrate, a lot to talk about. And I just want to welcome everybody to come in, have a seat, because today's show, we have a lot of topics to talk about. First of all, if you are checking out Grace and Gossip today, make sure that you leave an XO in the chat so that I know you're there. And also, I hope you have your tea, because trust me, ladies and gentlemen, probably more ladies than gentlemen, there is a lot to talk about. I'm going to start out with the Super Bowl because it's what most people are talking about today on social media. And I just, I'm doing a piece for Lennox and Parker on it. Hey, Druzy. Hey, Sheena K. Hey, Danielle. Oh, natural. I just want to say something to us, right? And you guys know what I mean when I say us. So this year, there have been so many people, and it feels like we have been here for a year, but it's really, we are 1 month and 1 month and 8 days into 2025, and yet it feels like we've been here for quite a long time. It's been a lot of difficulty, and one of the things, thank you, Danielle, one of the things that people have really been talking about is the fact that there's a lot of the whole idea with DEI and just African American programming and everything that has been taken away. So it's so strange to me when we have an artist that is gifted with the opportunity to perform at the Super Bowl, and that artist decides to do something to really empower and embolden his community, and people are angry. People said, I actually read several posts on social media where people were saying that they just wish that they could party. The Super Bowl isn't for heavy messages. I don't want to feel like I'm reading a book. Someone said that. Hey, L. Jackson. Thank you guys for those XOs in the chat. But it's just crazy to me. This is Grace and Gossip, where we, have a little bit of sophistication in our commentary. And I just wonder, with all the things that are happening that we're having taken away from our culture, and then when someone who is in position to be a voice for the culture speaks up for it, then we're upset. So I think this is an example of why those that are successful have always told people never to pay attention to what other people say. Go with your passion, go with your purpose, and follow your heart, because you can never make anyone. There's never a time when you can make everybody happy. And yeah, I agree with you so much, Danielle. Like if this performance, I just want to point out several things. First of all, everyone had their clothes on, right? There was no stripper poles. There were no bikinis. There was no brief nudity. Everyone had their clothes on. SZA looked beautiful. I'm a huge fan of her. She looked beautiful and tasteful and very, it looked like she was going to the Super Bowl. Like, it's a football game. So why do we have so much nakedness usually in the acts? And I'm not saying that, there's anything wrong with some of the people's performance. I'm just saying, like, we complain so much. And then when we have a performance where there was no nudity, women were respected. Serena Williams made an appearance and is one of the greatest athletes of our time. Samuel L. Jackson, one of the greatest actors of our time, participated in this wonderful performance. Artistic, very different, very different performance than has been before. But it's crazy that people are always going to find something to complain about. But for me, I think it's especially troubling when we are complaining about someone who is standing up for the fact that African American rights are important at such a time as this, during Black History Month, during this time, and people are complaining about it. So it makes you wonder, all of you that are boycotting, all these businesses, were you complaining about that too? Because it's just a lot of contradiction. So I just wanted to start with that. Not that my opinion is the right opinion, but I do have an opinion, and I would love to hear your opinion. I always appreciate all opinions shared on the channel as long as they're done with respect. So you all let me know what you think about this. I do want to say, I hope next year we will get a performance from Chris Brown. Do I believe that it will happen? Probably not. Why? Well, the reality is that Jay-Z, who is over the entertainment portion of the NFL, and Chris Brown are not on good terms. So that could be a political reason why he may not be able to perform. But I just think that, I think with Chris Brown, we could get an entertaining show. I hope it would have a message. I'm a little concerned about the nudity with the girls. But his show actually was extremely artistic and just amazing. And I think after him winning the Grammy and him selling out South Africa and Brazil, he definitely deserves a Super Bowl opportunity. And I hope that we get that in 2026 or 2027 when the Super Bowl comes to Atlanta. We would be fine with that. Those of us in Atlanta will be fine with that. So that's my commentary on that. Please let me know if you guys are watching the replay. Let me know what you think about the Super Bowl performance, and if you had a problem with Kendrick Lamar's performance, and if so, why? Okay? All right, you guys know this is Grace and Gossip, and it's where we talk a little bit, we do a little bit of elevated sophistication, but we still get down to the tea. So there is a lot of tea for us to get into today, and so I hope those of you who are in the chat are prepared to be vocal and for this to be an interactive conversation, because this next topic, I just want to go ahead and address it because I write about it so often. And, I write about Love Marriage Huntsville. We recap Love Marriage Huntsville on Friday nights, and recently we've been doing it on Saturday to end the season. And there's just been so much drama online. So I want to go ahead and just address it and give my perspective. We are going to do one more conversation on this season of Love and Marriage Huntsville, which is going to be Saturday for part 3 of the reunion. I will say, I will start this conversation, just by saying that it's unfortunate. Reality shows do not always showcase the best of us, right? And I think it's by design, and we know that. But I think that in this situation with Love and Marriage Huntsville, somewhere along the line, a really big ball was dropped, and the cast and production are not in alignment on any level. The fans we're just kind of like the casualties of a war, going on between the cast members and then production, really more so with the cast members. And it's really unfortunate because these 3 couples, and when I say these 3 staple couples, I'm talking about Melody and Martell, Marceau and Tisha, and Maurice and Kimmy. Now, they were the 3 principal couples that started Married at First, Love and Marriage Huntsville, in the first season, which was a little bit before the pandemic. And the idea, of course, was to bring these 3 powerhouse couples together that were all involved in entrepreneurship and also were friends to some extent. Melody and Martell were not related to the Scotts, but Maurice and Marceau both were married, and their wives, of course, are sister-in-laws, but they were all really good friends. And so where we are 9 seasons later, with almost all of those 6 people being at odds and there being additional people in the fray, is really sad. And I think, for the first few seasons, I watched the show hoping that there could be reconciliation. Initially, when I saw that that was not the case with Melody and Martell, that he was committed to his ignorance, then I championed Melody's leaving the marriage, because it was difficult to watch a woman be humiliated like that. Like, him having so many having such a long-standing extramarital affair, and that affair producing a child is very embarrassing. And I know most women who have been through that I've never had someone have a child on me, but anyone who's been cheated on knows that that can be very embarrassing, especially when other people know about it. So the show started one way and it's ending very different. There has been a breakdown of these friendships to the point where I think they are irreparable. I do not see any way for any of these friendships to be fixed or repaired. And there's definitely no reason for Melody and Martell's marriage to be repaired. But what is unfortunate in this situation is that they do have 4 children. And so when we are, going back and forth and, I see people on social media, talking so negatively about Martell and then some people talking about Melody, I think people often forget that this couple has 4 children together and they are under the age of like 18. I don't know how old the oldest, I know it's probably like a teenager at this point, but their children are small and impressionable, and I'm sure very hurt by all this, so I think we have to take that into consideration when talking about that. That said, let's come up to speed and talk about what has been going on. So at the reunion, Destiny, seemed very upset. Her storyline this season was one of the most popular because of the ex-producer Sonny starting to date her ex-boyfriend. Destiny was off for a season because she did not, she was not authentic and honest about her situation. And I think she was penalized for that. Carlos brought her back and she was excited about that. She joined the cast this season. She seemed very close with Martell. People asked her about that. Destiny, went to her blog and let people know that she was actually friends with Martell before she was friends with Melody. So that friendship remained intact after Melody and Martell divorced. A lot of people felt like maybe her and Martell had something going on. Both of them have refuted that. However, I will be honest, Martell makes a lot of jokes that just are in poor taste. One of those jokes that I remember, and you guys let me know if you remember this season when Martell came over to Destiny's house and he was he came over to Destiny's house and he was talking about her son, and I believe her son's name is Law, and he mentioned that her son looked like him. He was like, he looks like his Uncle Martell. Wonder how that happened. And I remember thinking that's kind of in poor taste. And later, when we hear there were rumors that Destiny did not know who the child's father was, according to Destiny, that's not true. She was married to LeBaric. They got divorced immediately after the baby was born. But she insists that that's not the case. Rumors still, suggest that. Quite a few rumors, but Martell's joking around about that. He jokes around about a lot of things that are not funny at all. And joking around about a child's paternity is, especially when it's being questioned, is in extremely poor taste. I know you guys saw on the reunion when Sonny, who is Destiny's op, Sonny said that Destiny did not know who her child's father was. And, or at least that was the rumor. And she put up a post on her social media that had a Maury Povich, reference, basically suggesting she did not know who the father of the child was. Very in poor taste, but I don't think that Sonny ever coming into the show the way she did, dating someone that you met through another woman that you were working with, that you had a very friendly relationship with, even if you weren't friends. I didn't expect her to be like the queen of morality or ethics at all. So her posting that was not a surprise, specifically because Destiny was very upset about her dating Moses, who coincidentally is in jail, has returned to jail. Anyway, that was all a big mess, but I just wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about Destiny before we get into this blow up that happened with Destiny, Martell, and Melody, that initially was edited out of the show. Now, I will be honest. I think I told you guys, if you watched my show on Friday when I recapped with Scorpio Mo, I did say that I saw the edit prior to it being edited, and then I heard that Melly was threatening to sue, and then I saw the re-edit. And so it was not my intention to come and talk about this, on my show. The only reason I'm talking about it is because the edit did come out. And so it's out, it's floating around the blogs. And so I'm going to speak about it here because, it would be irresponsible of me not to cover it as much as I talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville. So I just want to be clear. I did see it. I was not going to share. And then I decided, after seeing it go viral on several sites and several TikTok blogs discussing it, I decided that we needed to address it during Grace and Gossip. Like I said, because I do write a lot about the show. I have 2 articles out now about Melly that went viral. And I have another article out that I'm going to get to in just a bit, basically about Marceau and Martell. But the scene in the reunion that was removed involved 2 things. I think there's 2 things that are really important in that conversation. The first is that Destiny suggested that Melody and Martell were trying to get her comfortable with the idea of being intimate with the 2 of them, right? And what people will call a threesome. Now, she did use the word grooming. That came out of her mouth, right? And I thought that was extremely inappropriate because, first of all, I think that people are hearing this term a lot because of cases like Diddy and other cases, specifically R. Kelly, like where there are minors involved, right? Or there are people that are younger and at a different social place or, successful place. So if there's a person like a Harvey Weinstein who is president of a movie production house or studio, and he is, using his power to manipulate and groom a young actress that he knows wants to be successful, into, being intimate with him or being in an inappropriate relationship with him. That's, to me, the definition of grooming is when there is a definite advantage, usually due to age and power, in place, right? So it, in my opinion, is not possible for Melody and Martell to have groomed their friend into being a participant of a threesome with them. That just doesn't make sense to me. And I want to be honest with you all. I had that conversation with Destiny after the reunion was aired, and she shared with me that that word was taken out of context, and she should not have used that word. Also, the word grooming suggests that a person might have been uncomfortable or even scared, right? That term was used a lot in the R. Kelly documentary, and how these young girls were around and were being given things and being treated to a lifestyle that they had probably dreamt of. And little by little, things that they're asked to do are normalized. So again, I don't believe that word should have been used. I think it should have been struck from the original edit. And Destiny did acknowledge to me when we had a conversation that she should not have used that word. So at this point, that to me is it was wrong. It was wrong for her to say. Also, in that, if you are grown up, an adult, and you are at your friend's house, and your friends are having conversations that make you think that they're trying to get you to be involved with them intimately, then if you don't want to do that, you go home. If you are interested in that, you stay. And so, if you guys would remember during the reunion, Nell said, I told you to go home. I told you that you should get your ASS up and go home. So that lets us know that there was conversation that was, let's say, after hours conversation, right? And it could have been implied that something could have happened. And Destiny was well aware of that. And Nell told her to go home. Destiny chose to stay. And so to me, that says there was some form of interest, or, if you're around some friends and they're saying things that make you feel uncomfortable, you guys are all the same age. Maybe maybe they're a little bit more successful than you, but not to the point where you would, it's not like they are they are Diddy and you're trying to make the band. Probably too soon, but I'm just saying, you guys know what I mean. Like, go home. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I remember when I first moved to Atlanta, I had a friend, a young lady that I met, and I learned that she would throw parties where there would be people that would, indulge in carnality. And when I learned that, I decided to, if I ever went over there talking to her, as soon as, the sun would begin to go down, or as soon as, she would say other people were coming over her house, I would leave, because I didn't want to give even the suggestion or the thought that I would want to entertain what was happening. So I leave. Now, if I had stayed and I knew what was happening, then that would have been on me. You feel what I'm saying? So I don't understand why she would say that and say. I also, and I'm just being honest, I don't have a dog in the fight. And I know a lot of people think that I take sides, but I really don't. I support all the ladies. I had the opportunity to meet the three of them initially when I interviewed them. And I've interviewed all of them, and I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm just a person that supports other women. And I will say if something is wrong, but I also think that, we've all made mistakes. So I don't think anyone deserves to be just like blackballed, but I do think we have to call each other out on our BS. And I think that was BS. I think that for some reason, Destiny really, really likes Melody. And she wanted to be friends with her, because even after, even on the girls trip this season, Destiny seemed to really want Melody's approval. And that was strange to me. Like, she seemed to really, really want Melody. She wanted to sit by her at this one scene. It was very strange to me. She really wanted Melody to when Melody said she was okay with everybody, she wanted to sit at the table next to her. And Melody mentioned it, and she wasn't, pressed to sit next to Destiny or any of the ladies. Honestly, Melody had definitely moved on, I believe, at the beginning of the season. But I think it's a case of Destiny really wanted to be friends with her. And maybe Melody was like the cool girl, the pretty girl, and she really wanted to impress her. But Melody was not really impressed. And I think that it's hurtful. I think Destiny did all that because she was hurt that Melody didn't want to necessarily be her friend, and that she would go and befriend Sonny, which I really don't think that's a real friendship at all. I think Melody just does what makes sense for her. And I'm not saying Destiny was a victim at all. I mean, if somebody doesn't like you, or maybe you've done things to make them not like you, then you can't get mad at them when they don't want to be your friend. Like, these are things that these women should have learned, like in elementary school, right? Everybody's not going to be your friend. Everybody's not going to like you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you just have to be a big girl, put on your big girl panties, and keep it moving. So, okay, we talked about the grooming mention. Now, there was one more mention in the in the reunion that was also removed. And that's the one that we're going to talk about now. So Destiny brought up the fact that there was a incident that happened years ago, years and years ago, where Melody and Marceau and Tisha and Kimmy and Maurice were all together in a limousine. Now, I would assume, I don't know, this is Christal speculation, okay? This is not fact. This is Christal speculation, but I am going to assume that the three couples were in a limousine either doing press like early on or maybe celebrating or something. Believe it was Melody and Martell's anniversary, or that somehow got worked into the conversation. But the couples were all together. I'm just trying to think of when would three couples all be sharing a limousine, unless it was for the show. You know what I mean? Like maybe couples get together and share a limo. That just sounds like something you would do if you were doing promo or celebrating something, right? So allegedly, it was said in the reunion. Martell and Melody and Martell, but Melody was the one doing the action, engaged in, let's just say, oral play, right? In front of the other two couples. Now, the problem with this, because I know the mellometers were shocked and appalled. I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked to hear that. That's shocking, because that's not something that just happens among friends. We have friends that we hang out with, other couples that we hang out with. Never in the history of never, never in the history of never has anyone done anything like that. But I also am not a swinger. My husband's not a swinger, and our friends are not swingers. So at least not that we know. You know, you never put anything past anybody, but at least from what we know, they're not. But no one has just that would just be so weird and awkward to me, and uncomfortable. So that was exposed in the reunion. And the problem with it is that Kimmy immediately says, well, how did you know? Because there were only 6 people there. And then Tisha acknowledges that she told Destiny because she was upset with what Martell was talking about her. Now, if you guys remember, Martell has been talking about Tisha's past exploits with other men prior to her getting married to Marceau. So I'm not surprised that she was upset at Martell, and I'm not even surprised that she told Destiny. I would assume, and I'm interested to see the thoughts of the chat. What do you guys think about something like that? If something like that happened, I would assume it would get out, because you've got 6 people. You know, Dr. Heavenly said something the other day, and Dr. Heavenly is a woman of wisdom. She's foolish, but she has a lot of wisdom. And she said, you know, if you want to keep a secret, you don't tell anyone. You don't even say it out loud to yourself. And I agree with Dr. Heavenly. I don't understand if you do something like that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it if the couple is consensual, and it obviously was. And the friends were not offended, and they obviously were not. So there's nothing wrong with what they did. But I would just assume, if I was the doer or the doey, that it would get out, because that's what happens. Because you have 6 people who have 6 sets of other friends and family members, and everybody has that one person that's like, oh girl, don't tell nobody. But you know what I mean? That's just too many people to do something like that in front of and assume it would never get out. And then, and I wanted to play this for you guys, because I know that everybody is saying that especially Melody's fans are furious at Destiny. They are furious at Destiny. And they're saying, oh, how dare Destiny? How dare Destiny say something like this about Melody? How dare Destiny tell Melody's business? And I just want to say, and I just want to put this out there that on this show, everybody has told everybody's business. Martell had a full interview where he tried to out Marceau. And if you guys remember, Melody, and I can't pull up I cannot pull up the trailer right now because I was going to play it for you guys, but we got more to talk about. But I know you guys have seen, if you watch the show, there's a trailer where Melody says people in this group like to keep things, secret and don't want to tell. And I just said, let it come out. Let it come out. Do you guys remember that? Please, somebody in the chat, let me know. Please say amen if you remember the trailer where Melody said, just let it come out. I'm trying to just pull it just so I can play that one part. Because it is very strange that now people act like they don't know what they don't understand why why Destiny would do that. Melody, I can't find it, but I will find it and I will play it this weekend with Scorpio Mo. But Melody, it played over and over on OWN. Just let it come out. Just let it come out. They like to hide things. Just let it come out. So I just say, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. Now, do I think that Destiny should have shared that? I think Destiny was upset, and for whatever reason, she was trying to make Melody look bad. And the only reason that this looks bad, is because all 9 seasons, Melody has presented herself very differently, right? Just very differently. And if I had done something like that, in my younger years, I wouldn't want to share that with the world. I probably would always stay cool with those 5 people. 5 people, not just, I would probably stay cool with my ex because I wouldn't want that to come out. I also think, just being serious, that it explains why Marceau is flirty. It explains why Maurice kind of feels like she's hypocritical. And I just want to say this, I just have to be honest to my channel and what I think, right? So and I trust me, I know that the mellow meters are gonna go crazy, but I just have to be honest to myself. When things like that happen, and I understand everyone has a right to express themselves affectionately and intimately the way that they want to, right? And I think that we should. I don't think you should feel bound. I think you should do what makes you happy, and what makes you happy may not make someone else happy. But you do have to understand that there are consequences and repercussions for some of those decisions. And so if you are around a group of men and you're trying to, you want their ultimate respect, that may not be something that you want to do around them. You know what I mean? Because there's now a sense of familiarity that is not necessarily needed amongst friends that are going to be platonic friends and platonic, unless you guys are all just one. It's just understandable why Marceau is kind of flirtatious with Melody. Men are men, women are women. And if a man sees something that he likes, especially in that light, I'm not surprised that he can't get it out of his head. He probably cannot get it out of his head. Maurice probably can't either. I mean, I'm a woman and I'm straight, and I probably couldn't get it out of my head. That's just not something that you would plan on seeing, and if you guys all decided this was okay, then you have to know that the consequence and repercussion of that is that, when you guys fall out, that could be something that they use against you. It's unfortunate, it's messy, it's ugly, but obviously these three couples were very close, to say the least. To say the least. I would also like to suggest, just from my perspective here on the XO channel, if you have those types of proclivities and you need to do things like that's what floats your boat, you and your spouse, don't engage in that type of behavior with friends. Because this is a case study of why everything is not for everybody. Friendships should never be exposed to every part of your marriage. And in any case, I don't mean just the physical part. I mean the emotional, all of it. It's unfortunate. I also want to say, as a woman, and it's been said that maybe Melody was trying to do things to keep her husband from continuing to be unfaithful to her. And I definitely can understand that. And I know other women that have done things that are outside of their comfort level because they want to make their husband happy or their boyfriend happy. And I think don't do anything that you can't be proud of if you guys are not together, right? And I don't think you should ever do anything that puts you outside of your personal comfort zone. And if that man loves you, he should not ask you to do that. I don't, Martell, I don't, there's just, I don't know. Martell has a lot of issues, man. I mean, he is a perfect example of a man that may look good on the outside, but is definitely a walking red flag. And women should definitely stay away from him. First of all, it also explains, because we know that Melody had him arrested for, I think it was terroristic threats, which equal to him trying to put out videos exposing their intimate life, right? That's not that, a man doesn't do that. But I do think a man that would want his wife to do that in front of other people, other couples, would do that. So that's on brand for him. I'm glad she's away from him, and I'm sad that we're talking about this because I didn't really want to talk about it. But I do think, like I said, I just wanted to be honest with my channel because it was out and people are talking about it. And I think, whenever there is conversation, I think what this channel does is bring context for those of us that want context and not just, to be messy. I think that's not something that a husband should ask a wife to do if she's not comfortable with it. And if she is comfortable, then make sure the friends or the people that you choose to be around are not just fair weather friends, because this is an example of why, that type of behavior and extracurricular activities are not good to be, just should not be shared with people that are not all of the same mind, the same ilk, if you will. Moving on, still at Love Marriage Huntsville, I did an article for Collider that went live today or yesterday. But the title of it is Love Marriage Huntsville's Marceau Scott is right. He is a better man than Martell. And I didn't pull this, but I do have here, you guys see their picture of Tisha and Marceau. And the title there, oh, you can't see that. Love and Marriage, Marceau Scott is right. He is a better man than Martell Holt. And the reason I wrote this is because, number one, Martell is not an example of really what a man should be, right? I know that um, Marceau does a lot that we don't agree with, right? And I don't think that he is necessarily um, a perfect. I don't. No one is perfect, but not saying that Marceau is perfect either. But what I am saying is that in this series, Marceau does um, respect his responsibility as a father, right? And he holds other men accountable, and I think that's admirable. Um, I'm going to read a little bit from it so you guys can get the gist, and you can always get the entire piece on Collider. Um, I said fans of OWN's Love and Marriage Huntsville have exhaled a collective sigh of relief as the ninth season of the show has come to an end. As always, Love and Marriage Huntsville played out in equal parts on OWN and over social media, but this season, the reality series was particularly toxic, with numerous cast members being arrested and Martell attempting to embarrass Marceau by interviewing one of his alleged side chicks on his own side chick's YouTube channel. If you are confused reading the contradiction of Martell's curated attempts, you are in good company, as the entire season has pushed many viewers to the point of no return, specifically the EXO family. Most of you guys are like, I'm over this. I talked about Marceau and his confrontation of Martell, and his, getting his side chick mistress pregnant. Said Black married Martell and his former wife Melody were cast as the principal couple in Carlos King's first Love and Marriage franchise, committed to showcasing successful, affluent Black married couples prioritizing entrepreneurship. Martell and Melody were unable to maintain their role as the principal couple because Martell's philandering ways destroyed their marriage. Marceau and his brother Maurice were shocked that Martell allowed his marriage to be destroyed by the relationship with his girlfriend, Ariane Curry. When the news that Ariane was pregnant from the affair reached the public, Marceau and Maurice began to publicly distance themselves from Martell. And I believe that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that most men would be shocked that a man would allow his side chick to actually have his child. That is shocking. Hold on, let me see. So you're automatically agreeing that what Dusty put out there is all fact. Okay, all right, peace, love, and light. Child, don't do that. I'm not believing anything. If you watch the clip, and I've seen the clip, I don't know if you have or not, but I've seen the clip, and in the clip, Kimmy says, "How did you find that out?" There were only six people there, and Tisha says, "I told her." No one ever says it didn't happen. Not even Melody. No one says it didn't happen. Kimmy says, "How did you know?" Tisha says, "I told her because I was upset with Martell." So I am not agreeing with Destiny. I am just saying that according to the way the cast responded in that clip, it's clear that did happen. And that's not for me. That's also why it was taken down, because the clip was not aired on OWN. That clip, according to my understanding, aired on another platform and was ripped and put out on social media, but it did not air in the edit that aired on OWN. So it was removed. And I think the reason it was removed because it was in poor taste. And I think people, with Melody being executive producer of the show, I think she was very upset, as she should have been. You know what I mean? But I am just still speaking, just because you don't want it to come out. And I do think Melody also said, just let everything come out. And that includes you too. I think one of the things that bothers me about a lot of Melody's fans is they don't hold her accountable for anything. She was going around trying to prove that other people were cheating on their wives. You cannot, things go both ways. That's just the laws of life. You sow, you reap. So if you want stuff to come out on other people, then you have to be aware that something could come out on you. That's just the way it goes. And if you don't want it to come out, don't do anything with 6 people. That's a lot of people just to hide something from. That's a lot of people not to think about that. If I did something that I don't want to come out and I do it with five five other people, not only do I have to worry about my husband and I never having a, separation, but now I got to worry about those four other people and staying in their good graces. And if I don't, it is the right thing. I think it's right for people to, if you are no longer friends with someone, you should not tell their business. But most people are not like that. Most people will tell your business as soon as, hell, they will tell your business when they're still friends with you, much less when you guys are no longer cool. So let this just be a lesson for all of us. Let's don't do things that we don't want to get out with people with people, period. Go find somebody else go out of the country or something. Mm-hmm. That's wild. That's wild. But anyway, I'm back to my article. I was just thrown off by a comment in the chat. So in this, I do praise Marceau for standing up and holding Martell accountable for that not being man behavior. I also think that viewers were appalled to learn this season that Martell had attempted to ask Love Marriage Huntsville newbie Trisha out while both of them were still legally married. It was clear that Martell would stoop to any level during and after his marriage. Before fans believed his reputation couldn't get any worse, Melody filed charges against him. Okay. Marceau spoke out against Martell's actions with a few bloggers, making sure the public knew that he did not condone a man treating his ex-wife and the mother of his children in such a reckless and disrespectful way. Martell attempted to confront Marceau for condemning his actions at a field day Destiny coordinated. The former friends continued arguing throughout several scenes leading up to the season finale. In the final confrontation, Marceau tells Martell that the sum total of both their life experiences create the reality that he is just the better man between the two of them. Martell attempts to bait Marceau with the details of his arrest and claims he was never convicted of the crime, but Marceau insists that real men do not treat their former wives in such a disrespectful way. Martell isn't the only one that Marceau holds accountable for being irresponsible. Trisha's estranged husband, Marquez, was introduced this season carrying a mountain of excuses as to why he isn't taking care of their two children. Marquez invited Marceau out to discuss his grievances against her new boyfriend, Ken. Fans praised Marceau for his no-holds-barred reprimand of Marquez, irresponsibility towards his family. You should thank that man for being there for your children since you weren't there for them. This has nothing to do with him. You chose to leave your family, Marceau refuted boldly. Faced with the bitter truth, Marquez had no choice but to take accountability for his actions. I think that Marceau has, I'm going to read you guys this final piece and then we'll talk about it. Marceau has had no shortage of critics for his cynical comments and condescending conversations with his wife over the years. His commitment to prioritizing his family and holding his peers accountable shows that his level of maturity as a man is light years ahead of Martell. His statement of being the better man when compared to Martell could be viewed as a bit of an overstatement. Martell's actions haven't qualified him to be considered a man at all. Marceau qualifies by any stretch of the imagination as the better man, but Martell doesn't show up as a man in any sense of the word. And I mean that. I think that Martell's behavior suggests that he has a lot of growing and maturing to do. He's also very, thank you, Sparky. He's also very, he's got to deal with his hurt and his trauma. But that doesn't mean that you don't get to be held accountable for what you've done. And so I like to give people their praise when they deserve it. And I think that Marceau deserves to be applauded for holding the men on the show accountable for prioritizing their family. Now, is he perfect? No. But does he try to protect his wife from other situations to the best of his ability? Yes. Would he ever allow his wife to be embarrassed by that type of behavior? I don't think so. And that's just, I think that's just a part of manhood. Manhood is not about perfection, but it is about showing up and taking responsibility and ownership and not making excuses. And that's what we see Martell do all the time. And Marquez, I'm not even gonna I won't even waste. I did write an article that's saying that Martell was no longer the only villain on the show. But I'm not gonna waste a lot of words on Marquez. I just don't have it in me. But that's that. I'm ready to put this season of Love and Marriage Huntsville to bed. Saturday after the reunion, Scorpio Mo and I will go over the last bit of the reunion and probably talk a little bit more about the fact that there was an edit and then a released, raw footage was out and then people were talking about it. We also will see how this affects next season if Melody does sue Carlos, because that could very well happen with this information being released to the public. Last thing is they did mention, and she knew that it was in the first edit because that's when her team started to reach out, I believe, let OWN know that they were not happy with that. But the actual title in there, the grooming comment it's just a very controversial word. But I don't think that should have ever been left in. The grooming word should never have been ever mentioned. As far as the couples in the limo, well, if you want everything to come out, you got to be careful what you want to come out and what you don't, but yes, to the XO family and anyone ever watching, if you have not subscribe to the idea of not doing things with people that, that are not, be more careful. Got to be more careful, people. All right, moving on to, I have spent almost the whole hour talking about Love Marriage Huntsville. Moving on to Married at First Sight. Married at First Sight. Last week I talked about Akichi, who I really think needs to be kicked off the show. I think he should be penalized. I've said that because with him trying to take divorce papers, and embarrass her at the couples retreat, I think he should be penalized in some kind of way because that was really crazy. I think he was trying to humiliate her. I think there's not been, and I've been watching Married at First Sight forever, and I've never seen someone try to bring divorce papers early like that. That was him being hateful, him trying to embarrass her in front of the other couples, and it was disgusting. And she handled it well, but I wish she had done that beforehand. But we don't even have time this week to talk about Emem and Akichi because there have been new developments with David and Michelle and Alan and Madison, and it appears this is what I'm going to say, and I'm doing an article about this. I think that Dr. Pepper, who we see here, and Pastor Cal and Dr. Pia should all be held accountable, and there should be a reboot with new experts. And I think this situation is why, because when you put people in a situation and try to get them to keep trying something and forcing something that doesn't fit because you're telling them that they're responsible for their part of it, I think that is irresponsible, and I think that it can have long-lasting impacts on people. Let's watch this video, this clip from tomorrow's episode, and it confirms what we thought, what suspicions have been going around online, that David and Madison do have a connection. This is the confrontation between David and Alan.
Just say it. That me and Madison have a connection that you and her don't have, and I don't have on my wife. Number one, I saw you as a friend. I still see you as a friend, baby. You. Okay. All right. Number two, she bull
me. She played me.
She did not, bro.
No, her. Her and you.
You can say me.
No, her. Every day. Do you know every
was trying, bro.
every I don't give a every day.
She was trying.
Every day. This is something that I saw and I asked. I struggled. I tried to.
Ditto. But that's why we got so close. And how do you think it makes me feel right now telling you this, bro? We were in the same position. It wasn't on purpose. No, it we're friends. It's platonic. We talk. She knows more about me than my wife, bro.
So connection.
Because she asks questions.
You said connection. You see something going on with medicine where you can actually find that as your...
Yes, I'll be 100 with you.
Go for it, brother. I'm done.
All right. I think that clip is all I need to show to tell people. That's why I don't think they should be. That's horrible. You guys see how hurt Alan is, and just for no reason. Why would they put him in that position and encourage him to keep trying to make that relationship work? I don't like it at all. I think that the experts needs to go. They're too nice, and they also are not. They're nice, but they're not good. At understanding that if a person is with someone, they pair up two people, and one person is verbally and emotionally abusing the other person. You should not hold that person accountable for staying in that relationship. That's not fair. And what you end up doing is creating situations like with Alan. If they would have empowered Alan to, call Madison out on her BS, he would never have been in that situation. But he keeps thinking that there was a potential. Just like David kept thinking, okay, if I do this, maybe she'll like me. But the reality is, if a person is not attracted to you, and they are strongly unattracted to you, they strongly don't like the way you look, there's little to no chance of that changing. And what you're going to do is what happened with David and Michelle. Michelle is disgusted by David. And so what she's done the entire season is look for reasons to prove that she's right by disliking him. And now she has one, right? Now she has one, but she treated him horribly. And the reality is, you cannot treat a person horribly, and the experts keep encouraging that person that's being treated like trash to keep trying and keep doing their part in their marriage. That is not something that you do with a person that you're not in a real marriage with. That is not for strangers to do. It is I think it is irresponsible to suggest, and it causes a lot of pain and mental anguish afterwards. I think that we have seen this happen in the situation with Chris and Paige. I saw a post saying, is David the worst guy on the show? Oh, no, it was Akichi the worst guy, or was Chris? I think Chris from Atlanta will always be the worst. But Akichi is definitely close. But think about that. Akichi was said that he did not want to be in the marriage, as opposed to telling a man, well, if this man is showing you he does not like you, you have a right to leave. Instead, the expert keeps saying, well, what have you done? Well, why didn't you guys move in together? And as a result, the other person keeps trying. And Mem kept trying and trying, to the point where those of us watching the show was like, girl, he don't want you. Leave him alone, right? But because when she goes and sits down with Dr. Pia is encouraging her to do her part. And then she goes in, and then this idiot shows up with divorce papers at the retreat. Same thing with David and Michelle. It has been clear that Michelle detests David. Clear. So are we surprised that David started talking to someone else? Absolutely not. What is surprising is that they encouraged him to stay in a situation and keep showing up for someone who basically told you, do not text me, and kicked him out on their honeymoon. Now, I'm not saying David was right. He and Madison are both dead ass wrong. They could have waited until the season was over. They could have waited until the season was over. I would have had no problem with David if he was talking to other girls, because Michelle has made it clear she detests him. She's disgusted by him. There's no reason that he should not be talking to other girls. Now, talking to someone else, because do you see how hurt Alan was? Like, that was horrible. They should have held off until after the season was up. Now, what's going to be interesting, because I have heard, Druzy, I heard that there are people that have posted pictures of them out together. I think like at a basketball game or something like that. I hope they stay together, because sometimes that idea of like, it's us against the world. We've both been in these situations that we're just so unattracted to our person. It can make them feel like they have more in common than they really do. I would be surprised that Madison would be with David, because really what it shows is that she was BSing when she talks about all that other stuff. All the stuff about her not wanting to be a party girl, we saw that was BS, because she's out every night. And about her coming from humble beginnings and really, girl, please. That was all a lie. The thing is, you saw Alan and you just weren't attracted to him. And you were not willing to give him a chance. And you saw David and you were attracted to him. And we know that Madison and David both work out. So they both prioritize fitness. That's one of the things that she made fun of. She made fun of Alan because he's not really a fitness guy. Like, she's not a nice girl at all. She's not nice. Even how after that scene, she's like, oh, does he want to have a conversation? Does he want to have a conversation? And then she sees Alan hurt, and he's like, he's really going through it. He's like throwing stuff and kicking the kicking the refrigerator. You know, he's showing his anger. And she's like, oh, I guess not. But of course he doesn't. Of course. I mean, that's not surprising. That's not fair. You know, she's not a nice person. And I don't think, I'm surprised that David would not understand that and would, you know, but they both are probably just focused on what they want, and it's probably going to come back to bite him, because I don't think she's a good person. He's probably, you know, a little full of it as well, but we just haven't seen that part of him. All we've seen him do is keep trying, and we've seen Alan keep trying. So in that scene, when he says to Alan, we've been in the same boat, he is right. You know, Carla has continued trying with Juan, who does not like her. Thomas keeps trying with Camille, who does not like him. You know, Camille is trying, but she keeps trying to make him something that he's not. And it's not fair. Like, there's nothing wrong with Thomas. Her complaints are him not wearing enough jewelry. She wants him to be a rapper. She wants him to push her around. She's not a mature person. She doesn't know what she wants. But still, they're still better than Emem and Akichi and David and Michelle and Alan and Madison. This is like, but I think it reflects on the experts. And I think that something should be done so that they quit doing this to people. Quit putting people in situations where you are giving them 6 weeks of emotional abuse to deal with, on top of whatever they came to the process with. It's not fair. It's not fair. I don't like it. And I hope that they get new experts, and I'm going to write another article. You guys, I'm a wordplay assassin. I am going to write another article, because this is not right. I just think people should stop going on that show. Don't go on that show if you care about looks at all, because you're not going to get somebody that looks like you want them to look. You're not. So just get that thought out your head right now and let it go. Let it go. Well, I am going to end our session of Grace and Gossip today. Please let me know what you guys think of the topics. What do you think of Love Marriage Huntsville? What do you think of the information released? Do you think that Destiny was wrong? Do you think that Melody was hypocritical in trying to reveal things on other people but not herself? Do you think that Marcel, do you agree with me that Marcel is the better man than Martel? And then of course, what are your thoughts about David and Michelle? Do you think that they deserve a shot, that their love deserves a shot? Or do you think because of the way they did it, it is destined to fail? Obviously, it's still happening now. We know that David and Michelle have been spotted out together. And we also know that Emem is engaged to someone other than Ikichi. Hopefully, Ikichi is gone, never to be seen from again, with the way that he has treated our sister Emem. But yes, I've enjoyed talking to you guys about this. It was some difficult topics with Love and Marriage Huntsville. But I do think that, like I said, it was my responsibility to at least have the conversation with this channel about what was going on, since we do talk about that show so often. I am looking forward to Wednesday's episode of the Dating Diaries. Trust me, it's going to be hilarious. Scorpio Mo and I have talked a little bit about what our topics are going to be, and I think you guys are going to enjoy this Wednesday's episode. We have a special guest that's going to join us again. And then, of course, Friday, we are back with Ready to Love. Ready to Love. And I will talk about it on Friday, but I wrote a little article about Camille and Cornelius getting married. We talked a little bit about it on Friday. Most people, we really wanted to get to the singles, but let me know what you thought about that. But thank you guys for hanging out with me on a Monday. I hope your week is, I'm believing that you all are going to have blessed, productive weeks. Last but not least, let me know what you think about the Super Bowl. If you were one of the people that joined when we first started and you enjoyed Kendrick Lamar, let us know. If you did not enjoy Kendrick Lamar, let me know. Also, if you're with me and believe that Chris Brown is the only choice for next year's Super Bowl, leave that in the chat as well. Put a Team Breezy in the chat if that's what you think. Make sure before you leave, you like this and subscribe if you have not, and share this with a friend to see what they think. And I will see you guys back here on Wednesday. All right. Have a great week.